Valentine's bouquets come in all shapes and prices, but how do you know which one's best when there's so many out there to choose from? Well, it's simple. 1-800-Flowers.com is your Valentine's go-to. Right now, when you order early, you can get 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99. Or upgrade to 24 romantic red roses for only $10 more. It's an unbelievable Valentine's offer from 1-800-Flowers. 24 multicolored roses for just $29.99. Or upgrade to red roses for only $10 more. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak, shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99 or an upgrade to 24 red roses for just $10 more is the perfect reward for thinking ahead. Look, make sure you lock in this offer. It's only good while supplies last. To order 24 multicolored roses for $29.99 or upgrade to 24 red roses for only $10 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter the code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter code WINGO. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO. Glad you're with us on the Monday after the Super Bowl. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 as the Eagles are celebrating, and I mean celebrating, their first ever Super Bowl championship, their first NFL ever title since 1960. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We'll have Sal Paolantonio coming up in just a little bit, and he's a little excited.
Yes, he is.
About what went on. But did you see who was excited last night and who got denied last night?
Yes, I did.
It was Kevin Hart,
the
actor extraordinaire. He was trying to get on the stage. He was right behind Darryl Green, the former Washington Redskins great and Hall of Famer who was carrying the Lombardi Trophy to the presentation. He was right there behind him. And, you know, Kevin Hart is 5'1", 5'2", very small. And maybe not everybody who was security at the Super Bowl knew who he was. So he was completely denied by the security to get on the stage. And then he sort of went off on a little tangent on the NFL Network.
Yeah, he
dropped a few words he shouldn't have.
Yes, he did.
He had an epic Instagram post today, which you can see. But here are all the hashtags about that he put on his Instagram post. These are great. Okay, Kevin Hart, who gives a blank? Fly Eagles fly. Hashtag should have listened to my wife. Hashtag I was caught up in the moment. Hashtag I was super drunk. Hashtag I'm so happy for my city. Hashtag at least I didn't punch a horse. Hashtag that security guard did his job. Hashtag I wanted to hold the trophy. Hashtag so what. Hashtag Philadelphia stand up. Hashtag free McMill. Hashtag Eagles everything.
Wow.
Hashtag we beat Tom Brady. Hashtag blank in my suite and didn't flush the toilet. Hashtag thug life. Hashtag go Eagles. Hashtag I won so much money on this game. Hashtag Philadelphia forever. Hashtag we finally got a Super Bowl. Hashtag I finally witnessed history. Hashtag I threw up this morning. Hashtag so what, the Eagles won. Hashtag I'm getting old. Hashtag if blank you, I can't even read that one.
Don't.
Hashtag my friends are all to blame. Hashtag they got me drunk. Hashtag help me baby Jesus.
Wow.
At
least he took ownership of that.
Those are all the hashtags that he put on that podium on that Instagram post.
So he got denied and then cussed a little bit. So there were the other things outside, and we'll get more into them as well. But the things you talk about are the commercials, the national anthem, and the halftime show. So Pink sings the national anthem. And for those that were getting on or thinking she spit out gum before that or she was a throat lozenge because she was getting over being sick, and I don't blame her one bit for having that throat lozenge in the left. She's about to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and she's got a bad throat. That lozenge was staying as long as it possibly could until she was going to start singing. So I have no issue with that. And I thought she did a great job. Got her a little bit at the end when she had to hit the hard high note at the end. Got her a little bit, but I thought she has such a strong voice. So I'm a big fan of hers.
I agree.
And I know we'll get into Timberlake, but out of the national anthem, the halftime show, the commercials, and the singing of America the Beautiful, I almost go to that. Leslie Odom Jr.
Yep.
Now he's a guy you hear in the
He's from Hamilton,
right?
State Nationwide is on your side,
right? Exactly. Yeah. He was with some young choir members from St. Paul. His America the Beautiful was fantastic.
I agree.
Absolutely, it may have been the best singing of all the singing we're going to talk about. Justin Timberlake at halftime. Listen, I'm a fan of his. I think he puts on a really good show, and they tried to do a lot at halftime as well. Sometimes his voice didn't seem to be as loud and come across as you would have liked it to, but he certainly put on a show in a lot of different areas of there, and I'm a fan of his. So I enjoyed his. I know a lot of people. I know you weren't as happy about that.
No, I love Justin Timberlake. I told you if I could be someone, it would probably be Justin Timberlake because just to get the handicap, but also you know the millions and the acting and the singing and all that kind of stuff.
Going for him.
It just like the last couple of shows at the Super Bowl. I thought Lady Gaga was off the top, really, really good last year. And before that, you had Katy Perry, and she's just a spectacle all the way around. Now, Super Bowl 50 was okay, you know, because it was Coldplay. They had to have Bruno Mars and Beyonce come back to save it.
Right.
And then Super Bowl 48 was Bruno. I mean, he was just
fantastic.
Amazing. Nothing against Justin. It was fine. So one thing I want to say, it was very nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Probably not what he would want to hear.
Exactly.
He would want to hear, oh my God, that was unbelievable. The kid who took the selfie when he went up in the stands at the end, that kid's all over the place.
Selfie bragging rights for a long
time. And then the commercials.
That kid was just on Good Morning America.
Yeah,
by the way.
Of course he was. And then the commercials, I wasn't overly excited about many of the commercials, and I love watching the commercials. There were none that you really went, oh my God, that was fantastic. Commercials for a product, let me say that.
Yeah.
You know, the Danny DeVito and M&M's.
I thought that was pretty good.
All the Dilly Dilly commercials with the Bud Light.
The Bud Knight, I thought that was pretty good.
That now has to, give all the Bud Light to everybody in Philly.
Ooh. Yes, we need to talk about that.
Well, I think there's an article, they have a plan on how they're going to do that. So we'll get that. But to me, the best one was not even a commercial. It was basically a promo for the NFL about touchdown celebrations. It was Odell Beckham Jr. and Eli Manning kind of replaying Dirty Dancing. And I've had the time of my life, and the whole Odell Beckham jumping and Eli catching him like Patrick Swayze did to Jennifer Grey. I mean, it was fantastic. And I'm watching that thing, and I'm watching Eli dance in the song, and I'm going, what product are they selling? Where is this going? And it just shows up in the NFL. More touchdown celebrations are coming.
All the celebrations to come.
Wow, that was fantastic. It was great. Eli Manning out there dancing.
It was fantastic. And, they were having the time of their lives.
Yeah, they were.
And you know who's having the time of his life right now? That would be our intrepid NFL reporter based in Southern Jersey, a Wawa regular, a paper-holding wonderful person, our NFL reporter Sal Paolantonio, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join, and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Sal, the most amazing thing to me about what's happened so far is I just saw in SportsCenter they did a live shot with Jordan Renan from downtown Philadelphia, and the streets were clear. I thought for sure they'd still be going strong at about 8 o'clock this morning.
Well, I think people are walking around the houses in their pajamas like zombies. Is this real? I've talked to, 5 or 6 dozen people since the end of the game back home, and everyone has said the same thing. I've gotten text after text and email after email, and everybody says the same thing. Sal, did that really happen last night? Is that real? I think people... There was such an eruption of joy from fans all across the region, from Harrisburg to Atlantic City, from Allentown all the way down to Delaware. And I think people are waking up and realizing it happened, and they're trying to process it. It really is truly remarkable when you consider that the Empire State Building in the city of New York was lit up in green last night. What a capper to the night. It just says that this team was totally embraceable from coast to coast, that people loved this team, and that it had a special bond with one another, and that people really wanted it to succeed.
Yeah, Broad Street was full last night, and we hope everybody was safe. I'm sure we'll find out more and
people
more.
were safe for sure.
It was fantastic.
And downtown Minneapolis was crazy last night, and I walked into the hotel at about 2 hours, 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago. I didn't sleep. Nobody slept. People were just like sitting around quietly. It was eerie. And I'll tell you this story, and I still can't believe it happened. We're sitting drinking a couple beers, having some pizza in the lobby of the Marquette Hotel downtown. There's about 200, 250 Eagles fans just sitting around quietly talking. It was eerie. It wasn't like a total celebration. People were just sort of processing it. And in walks M. Night Shyamalan, the horror director, the guy who has, put the eerie in eerie, right? And he walks in, and we all are looking at each other. Is that really him? Are we in a movie about ourselves? Are we actually walking around as zombies in his movie? Is this real? And so he says hi to everybody, and then we all get into the elevator with him, and we're looking at each other like, man, we're in some kind of dream. And this guy is writing the script for us. It was truly one of the most surreal moments I have ever felt, and we all felt it together. Eagles fans from everywhere. We were like, what just happened?
Well, it's funny you put that in that perspective, Sal, as he joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, because you and I worked Super Bowl 36 together when the Patriots beat the very heavily favored Rams, and after that game, because the Patriots, there's a whole generation of people that don't know the Patriots for what they were before 2001. They were the laughable losers, and there was this guy I remember leaving the Superdome. And he was just sitting on a corner in Bourbon Street with a Patriots jersey on and a Patriots hat, and just his head was in his hands. He's like, I can't believe the bleeping Patriots actually won the Super Bowl, because they were a joke before then. And the Eagles had always been that, nice try sort of situation. So how ironic that the Eagles flipped the script, Sal, against the team that had sort of flipped their own script 17 years ago.
Yeah, when all of these droughts end, there's a catharsis that goes through a city. There's a celebration. There's the moment where you process it and realize that it did happen. And then the emotions start to pour out, because it's not one generation. The last time they won it was in 1960. So we're talking about 4 generations of people who have been spelling fatalism with a PH. And now that all is gone. It changes your behavior. It changes your attitude. It changes everything. There's a reason why last night in Philadelphia on Broad Street, nothing was harmed. No damage was done. The place is cleaned up this morning, is because the outcome of the game changed your behavior. Now you can feel a sense of respect.
Well, let's go to that. Let's just give people some perspective. December 26, 1960, the date of the Eagles' last title. The NFL teams, there were 13 of them. The president was Dwight Eisenhower. The Patriots were in their first season in the AFL, and Bill Belichick was 8 years old. So that's a perspective of these Philly fans who have been there decades rooting for this team. And we had Malcolm Jenkins on a little earlier, Sal, and he said, we can't wait to get back to Philly. What is the schedule? When are they getting back to Philly? And what is the anticipation of just how many people are going to be at that airport?
Yeah, I'm guessing tens of thousands. I'm guessing it's John Paul, George, and Ringo, size crowd. That's what I'm anticipating. Right now, I'm about to leave the hotel, go to the Mall of America, and cover the MVP trophy press conference with Nick Foles and Doug Peterson and Commissioner Roger Goodell, and then it's back to Philly. And it's such a great story. It's such a great headline. Nick Foles authored a comeback drive in the fourth quarter to beat the greatest quarterback of all time. And so it's a script you can't write. And I think the reason why it happened to this team is they formed a special brotherhood through love and respect for one another, and a belief and a resiliency that they could, in fact, do it. And then a coach who was not afraid ever, not afraid once, showed, as we say in South Philly, the cojones, call it.
Well, yeah.
On fourth down and goal to go, and call that play, which he now calls the Philly special.
Well, not only that one, Sal, but the fourth down to keep the drive alive on the game-winning drive that led to the Zach Ertz touchdown catch. I mean, if there was ever a case, Sal, to make the case for the coach to be the MVP of the Super Bowl, it might have been this one.
Yeah. Well, you're calling 4th and goal. You're calling a pass to a quarterback. And in Super Bowl history, a quarterback's never caught a touchdown pass. And you're not only going to do that, you're going to say, we can do this even if you can't, because Tom Brady doesn't catch the ball. The irony of that really, I think that play electrified that team. They went into the halftime locker room with a belief. But, the bottom line is it was a 12-round fight. Nobody wanted to go down. Everybody was throwing haymakers. It was really, in my view, one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time.
It was so entertaining, and the only downside as a former defensive player is a little difficult when you're setting records for yardage on the field. but hey, if you're on the winning side of it, you forget about it really quickly as your crown champion. And one other thing that's going to start to happen, Sal, as we move a day and another day and another day away from this is, if the phone rings for Philadelphia, what's the offer they would accept to trade for Nick Foles? You know that's the next thing coming. One more year on his deal at $7.6 million, and everybody has a price. So what would that price be for Philadelphia?
Michael, I love you. I respect you. I only could dream of being on this radio program on the day after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But to get that answer, you're going to have to dial 1-800-ADAM-SCHEFTER, because you're not getting that answer from me.
Look, I'm telling you, I'm with you, Sal. I'm not sure there's a way he's leaving, because
there's a price. It's just a matter of somebody will pay it or not.
But you just don't know when Carson Wentz is going to be healthy.
I agree, completely.
So why would you do that? Let's move on to something that may be a little more. I don't know. Look, I hear what you're saying.
Listen,
everybody comes with a price.
It's the reality of the sport. We can move on all we want, but it's the reality of the sport that's a possibility. So,
it hasn't even sunk in that they won the game yet.
I know. It's so true, isn't it?
He's such a radio guy.
People are still people are walking around the hotel lobby right now. Did this really happen?
Yeah.
That's what's going through people's minds. So I'm sure that question will come up to Nick Foles at today's press conference, and as soon as I get it, I will bring it to you, I promise.
in real-time reporting, as Sal Pal likes to say. Hey, Sal, before we let you go, there's one other thing that we have to talk about, and we were giving it a little discussion with Timmy Hasselbeck the last half hour. The decision to not play Malcolm Butler, a guy who had been on the field for 97.8% of the defensive snaps of the regular season, only got in on the one punt. He did not play a single defensive snap, and they said he was healthy. It was a coach's decision for a guy who sealed Super Bowl 49 just 3 years ago. That's an amazing turn of events for that cornerback.
Well, I think it definitely affected the team, because based on the reporting of our colleagues with the Patriots, it sounds like a lot of the players on the team were shocked by it. And, Malcolm Butler not being on the field certainly affects the outcome of the game. There's no question about it. Him being on the sideline. So, but you have to think, okay, people are on the sideline. The players are wondering what's going on, and that had to affect them. But, to me, it's one of those odd decisions that, we'll never have an answer to, because I don't think Bill Belichick is going to open up his notebook on that for us.
Yeah. Can confirm.
Yeah.
That won't happen. Sal, go to the MVP and then go do what everyone else was doing in Philadelphia when you get back. Jump off the Ritz-Carlton awning, will you? Do that.
No. I promise I'm going to be on a float live down Broad Street on NFL Live with Trey Wingo. I promise.
All right. All good, brother. Sal, always good to have you on the show.
Thanks,
enjoy
Sal.
the day, pal.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, what we're talking about there, Eagle fans went to Broad Street in Philadelphia City Center as of Monday morning. Store display windows were shattered. Potted plants were on their side. The Ritz-Carlton awning. By the way, the Ritz-Carlton downtown is where we stayed when the U.S. Open was at Marion in 2013. It's a really nice hotel in a really nice area of town. You can find it on Twitter, on Instagram. People were using the awning to do backflips and trust falls into the audience.
That's a lot of trust.
That's a lot of trust for guys that have had a lot of booze put into their system.
One police officer said a fan was arrested for climbing a street pole without clothes.
Okay, that would chafe in areas that I don't need to know about.
And again, they were using hydraulic fluid instead of Crisco oil to grease the pole so you couldn't climb it. And the Philly fans are like, "Got to do better than that."
Can you explain this to us? Because I worked in Allentown for a few months. I've never actually lived in Philadelphia. Right. What is it about the climbing of the poles?
At this point, and now it's the challenge because the police are making such a big deal.
What made it that?
Well, I mean, we saw it everywhere. I mean, I remember Greeny talking about when he was at a Bulls championship one time when he was there after the game when they sealed it and walked outside and walked outside and they're like, "Oh my God." And he said, everybody was up the pole, climbed up the poles and were hanging on signs and stuff. I don't know. People get up there to get a view of everything or for whatever reason they do it. And then it's just a challenge. Now the police are saying, well, we're going to stop that. And the fans are like, oh, no, you're not.
Crisco patrol as well. I thought it was more of a Philadelphia thing. I mean, I've seen people do it everywhere.
No, I've seen other people do it. Well, now it's the challenge because so hard the police want to stop them from doing it that I think the Philly fans take that as a challenge.
Well, listen, Philly fans are always up for the challenge. And I think Sal put it best there. I mean, let's be honest, Philadelphia, it's not the most lovable place at times, you know what I mean? And this city and this team found a way for a lot of people to root for them. Yeah. And that was the interesting dynamic that was at play here. And we'll talk a little bit about what we've seen from the Patriots. And I get it, Patriot fatigue is a real thing, but just appreciate what we've seen and what may or may not be going forward.
Right.
Because you'll never see it again. It's never going to happen again. Coming up, as if the Eagles' victory couldn't get any more impressive, they did it arguably, without two of their best players. We'll ask a Super Bowl champ about that and how they did it next. About an hour from now, you could really hear the emotion and the lack of energy and emotion he has left.
Understandable.
After that Super Bowl championship.
Understandably.
All night long.
Yeah, you can't wait to get that when they get back to Philly. I'm going to be interested to see just how many people are there at that airport.
Oh, my God.
That's going to be unreal.
By the way, that's the chortling you hear in the background of the big man, Damian Woody, joining us in studio to give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. All right, real quickly, before we get into anything like game-oriented, when you won your first one with the New England Patriots, because we talked about this, the Patriots were never any good until they won that. You know what I mean? They were like, oh, yeah, whatever. You have that crappy stadium up in Foxborough somewhere, which is in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You guys are kind of a joke. It flipped the franchise completely when you guys won that first one. What was that feeling like?
I finally saw the light. Literally the whole season, you felt like you were in a dark tunnel because even when we won, we felt like we lost.
Right.
We never felt like we were good enough, that we were doing things the right way. And then when that confetti finally hits you, like, damn, we achieved it. We really did it. This is the first time you could really exhale from the grind. This was when the CBA was different. When you were really hitting in practice, and you like, boy, it was all worth it. Kind of like that Bill Parcells quote. That's why you lift all them weights. And it's like that's when it hits you.
So what is Malcolm Jenkins and the rest of the Eagles in for when they land in their city when you went back to your city?
Oh my God! I think their situation was much different from when we first went out because at the time Boston's still a Red Sox town. It wasn't like the number one. Philadelphia is Eagles. Like that town has been dying for a championship, especially with the Eagles. So I heard the interview coming in. Malcolm, everyone kept, he just kept saying, I can't wait to get back to Philly. Trust me, Philly can't wait for those guys to get there. I'm still surprised that city is still standing because, I mean, that's big time by those guys. And congrats to Malcolm Jenkins and the whole Eagles organization.
Well, look, it is. And the amazing thing, we had a live shot on SportsCenter and the streets were empty. I really thought they'd still be going strong.
Oh, they're all getting ready for work today.
That's what's happening.
It was the purge.
That's what's happening.
It was the purge.
Give us a 4-hour nap and then we're back out again. Damian obviously played on the offensive line, and it's interesting, Damian, because we talked about how the defensive lines for both teams were going to have to step up and make plays, and quite frankly, neither one of them did. I thought the one unit on each team that really sort of went over expectations had to be the O-line for both squads, right?
Absolutely. We always say we're overworked and underappreciated, and that's literally the case because the only time people talk about us usually is when we give up, we get a holding call or we give up a sack. But if you look at both units in that game, the Eagles and the Patriots offensive lines, they were fantastic. And we know the Eagles, they have rushers in waves. They bring guys in waves off the bench. And for that Patriots offensive line to kind of withstand that attack from that Eagles pass rush, I thought was really, really impressive.
Yeah, and the Eagles did it without arguably their best or one of the best left tackles in football, Jason Peters, and they did it without Carson Wentz. I mean, we always talk about, Mike, how the season is a war of attrition. You have to survive. These two teams, I thought, summed that up perfectly with all the injuries that they overcame. But Philadelphia, my God, no Wentz, no Peters, no Sproles, no Jordan Hicks, no Maragos. I mean, the things they were able to do and just sort of find a way, it's remarkable. It's very similar to what the Patriots have done all these years.
Well, that's why, like I heard Tom Brady in the post presser, nobody's going to feel sorry for us. And nobody's going to feel sorry for you when you have injuries. Guess what? Everyone has injuries in the National Football League. You lose a guy, you got to plug in and you got to keep going. And it's really, you really got to give props to the coaching staff, Doug Peterson, to be able to withstand all of those injuries. We're not talking about scrubs here. We're talking about big time players, a guy in Carson Wentz who was potentially the league MVP. How many teams can withstand your starting quarterback, your potential league MVP going down and still make it to the Super Bowl and win it? So you got to give credit to the Eagles coaching staff.
So when you play in sports, no matter the sport, your goal is to win a championship in that sport. And you understand when you're out on the field, there can be plays where you're looked at as the hero, and there can be plays where you're looked at as, oh man, didn't go well there. And the offensive line is usually a life of anonymity.
Yep.
So take us down there and take us to a guy like Shaq Mason, the right guard.
Yeah.
So you get to the play where, again, they're blocking well the entire game. There's not that much pressure, especially from that Philly line, as you said, that can rotate guys in. And you get to the play where Fletcher Cox is the right defensive tackle. They slide that way. And here Shaq Mason is left one-on-one with Brandon Graham, an end who's sliding down, playing D tackle, and gives up the only sack of the game. A good rush by Graham, certainly, but Mason gets beat. So take us down there on the field, amongst his other line mates and amongst him on just that emotion.
Well, Mike, literally, there's no other position on a team where you could literally, you have 70 plays in a game. You could play well for 69.
Yep.
You give up that one, and everyone remembers that one. And unfortunately, in that situation, Brandon Graham had a critical play on that one play, the strip sack, fumble, and Derek Barnett got recovered the fumble. But listen, you got to give credit to the Eagles for setting up the situation, because we knew going to the game, the one thing that the Patriots are going to do, they're going to take out the guys that they feel like are going to be, they don't want to wreak havoc on the game. Fletcher Cox is a guy that can wreak havoc on the game. They double team Fletcher Cox. The Eagles made the subtle adjustment, putting Brandon Graham inside. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you from just playing every position on the offensive line, there's nothing worse than having a defensive end, a really fast guy sliding down and playing in the interior. Because guys that offensive linemen that play in the interior like that, we like infighting. We want to be in a phone booth and just battling you like that. When you get a smaller guy, now all of a sudden he has more wiggle. The offensive line sliding opposite. So it's like the ocean partying in that situation, and it's literally the worst situation you could be in. One little wiggle move by Brandon Graham, next thing you know, he's putting his paw on Tom Brady, creating the sack fumble. And that's all she wrote.
It's tough, because just what you said, it could be all the 99% great plays in that one play, and unfortunately, that's just going to stick with him for a long, long time. Yeah, it's a shame.
It totally, you're right. Unfortunately for him, it totally changed the game. One guy that couldn't change the game, Damian, was a guy who never got on the field, and that was cornerback Malcolm Butler. He had played almost 98% of the defensive snaps in the regular season. He was a day late coming to the Super Bowl because he said he was sick and in the hospital. They said it wasn't a health choice. They made decisions that he wasn't going to be out there. Look, you've played under Bill. You know how he is. What did you take away from the fact that Malcolm Butler, who just 3 years ago saved a Super Bowl win for them with an interception, never got a single defensive snap in that game?
Well, obviously it was bigger than, matchups. This wasn't a matchup decision. It was something bigger than that, because, again, like you said, this is a guy who played like 98% of the snaps in all the different packages, and the Patriots have a lot of different packages defensively. This guy was on the field. And now in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year, this guy's relegated to special teams? Look, really? You're going to try to tell us that this whole thing is about matchups?
Matchups.
I mean, there's matchups going on all year long, and this guy was out there for all the different matchups, but now in the biggest game of the year, now you want to tell us that this is about matchups. Come on now. This is not going to fly. Obviously, this is something bigger, and Coach Belichick is not, he's not going to put it out there.
Well, we're going to find out at some point.
It's going to leak somehow.
Their story was they used a lot of big nickel, which is 3 safeties and 2 corners, and they had some bigger corners out there. But like you said,
you mean to tell me Malcolm Butler is not one of their best corners?
I completely agree with you. Man. Remember, he was a day late because he was sick and in the hospital. So got to the Super Bowl a day late. There's no doubt if there's more to it, it's going to come out at some point to find out what went on. It's an unrestricted free agent, so a high probability he's not going to be back in a Patriot uniform.
Well, he said it after the game. He said they gave up on me, and then they asked why. He said, "Man, I ain't Miss Cleo. I don't know."
Yeah,
which is a pretty good line.
Yeah, it was.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. Damien, always glad to have you inside with the studio.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you breaking down the infighting and what went on in 2 units that played really, really well. And unfortunately, one guy's going to be remembered for the one play that may have changed the game. Once again, WIP on the call there with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick.
Love that. Yeah.
Is there anything better, by the way, for a local radio broadcast team that's been together for a long time, like Merrill and Mike, to have that moment?
Incredible.
Our team, our city, our town finally did it.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, no doubt. And Merrill's been there, has been doing games for, I think, 83 years. So,
Which is amazing because he's only 64.
I know. Love him, though. I love his voice. Such a distinctive voice. That had to be just fantastic for those guys.
Well, it's just great. And, you and I both went out on a somewhat of a limb and picked the Eagles.
We did.
When did you start thinking about, hey, they might be able to pull it off?
Well, listen, the first half, it was one of those, okay, they're playing well, but the lead
before you made your pick. When did you start thinking, I think I'm going to go with the Eagles?
Oh, I think because of the way, as I said, my whole line of this is how do you adjust to the adjustments?
Yeah.
New England's going to adjust. How do you adjust back? And one thing New England likes to do is take your top players out. And as I said, when they do that, somebody else has to make a play. Well, you double on Fletcher Cox. There's Brandon Graham. That's toward the end of the game, but he makes a play. It's Alshon Jeffrey making passes early.
Yep.
Stephon Gilmore now is covering him everywhere and does a good job. Well, there's Aguilar getting his 9 catches. There's Ertz getting his catches. There's Clement getting his catches out of the backfield. They have other players, if you took one away, to go to. So that was always my thought is they can spread the ball around. They stay aggressive. So they have the ability to adjust after the New England adjustment to stay in the game. Not to say to try and be right on my pick, not worried when Tom Brady's got the ball in his hand on the last drive. You're going, oh, my God.
I would have grabbed a male adult depends if I could find
one. Exactly right.
See, this is the difference between you and me. You based it on your own football intelligence and what you perceived. I based it on somebody else's intelligence. I wasn't trusting my own. When I heard that this guy, Better X, was laying heavy money on that's when I really started to reevaluate things. For those people that don't know, this Las Vegas Better X was the guy that almost ruined a lot of books in October with how he bet on baseball. He cleaned them out. They had the worst October I think they've ever had in terms of betting by the bets this guy laid. And here's a look at what Better X did. He put at least $6 million in bets in the Las Vegas sportsbook. He had $3 million bet at MGM, 1.2 total before. He had a $1 million bet, another high 6-figure bet, a $500,000 bet somewhere else. Look, that line started at 5.5, and it came down because this guy who had laid a lot of big money in the baseball postseason suddenly started putting a lot of heavy money on the Eagles, and that's when I started thinking the sharps usually know something.
Yeah.
And if this guy's going there, maybe we should be on board with him, right?
Oh, without question. Absolutely, without question. I mean, so especially when you have the ability to bet enough to move the line, that's really incredible to me. And that's why, again, there's the big shiny places. Normally Vegas wins, but this time this Better X again. Nobody wants to know. He doesn't want his identity out there
because they won't take his money anymore.
Like Racer X and Speed Racer and Eater X and a professional eating circuit going on. But that's a nice day for him, huh? Him or her, whoever it is.
I mean, the unnamed bettor who took Las Vegas Sportsbook for more than $10 million on the World Series, and he potentially won more on Super Bowl 52 with his Philadelphia Eagles bets. The other thing, Mike, I started thinking about it as we got closer and closer. When I thought that Brady was going to win the MVP, I went through the list, and Kurt Warner was the last guy as a regular season MVP to hold that Super Bowl trophy for his team. a passing yards leader in a single season, has never won the Super Bowl. I mean, there were all these things that you can say they're not related, and I can't dispute that. But to me, they all seemed it felt like they were trying to tell us something. You know?
And going back to BetterX, a record $138.4 million was bet on last year's Super Bowl at Nevada sportsbooks. Many books are projecting that will be surpassed with this year's amount. And remember the billions that were illegally gambled on this. And oh, by the way, according to Westgate, next year the favorite to win the Super Bowl,
New England Patriots.
New England Patriots.
There you go.
Second, Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, let's find out what New England Patriots are coming back next year before we make that decision. Because remember, it was after both his coordinators left in Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss after Super Bowl 39. They didn't win another Super Bowl until Super Bowl 51.
Right.
I mean, it was a long 49. No, 49. It was a long stretch.
And there are going to be coaches leaving here.
Exactly. Coming up, what's it like in New England this morning? We'll talk to a former Patriot who played for Bill and with Tom. That's ahead.